Hi. This is my March wrap up. Hello. So my name is Bex and this is Bex Books. I wrote down all the books I read and I put how many 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, and 2 stars I had in the month of March. And I'm here to just, you know, sit around and talk about books. And yeah, stick around if you want to hear my thoughts. Okay, so today at work, it was Crazy Hat Day. Instead of wearing a hat, I wore ears. I wore little cat ears because I like cat ears. And for this video, I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Bright eyeshadow. Let's just do whatever the we want. Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. Here it is. This hot track of a book is the first book I finished in March. Technically, it should be like in the February because I finished it within the first 4 days of March. Let me just hug this book right now. This feels so good. My heart feels love for this book. It's about a girl named Maggie. She doesn't have like a conventional life because her father is always pulling her out of schools and they're always traveling. Her father's like her best friend. He is a bookbinder, repairs old books, and they're constantly traveling to like where these rare and broken old books are. He's also a collector. He pulls her out one day and says like, we gotta go. And she can sense that this isn't like all the other times though because he's just off. This person called Dustfinger shows up and he has a marten with horns. The marten is so cute. I'm gonna show you. They have illustrations in the book, which is really cool too. The marten's name is Gwen, and he's one of my favorite things about the story is Gwen. He's such a cute, lovable character. So this is Gwen, the marten with horns. Let's just put that closer. It really held up. I still feel like it's a 5-star today when I reread it from whenever I was younger. I don't know if I know I might have read Inkspell, but I never read Ink Death because it is it's a trilogy and it's officially one of my favorite books of all time because it's that good. The world is just so magical and it's very endearing to somebody that loves books. There's a lot of talk about books and having relationships with books and collecting books and just appreciating books. And there's just sentences in here that a avid reader or a lover of books would be like, oh my God, that's something that I've thought but never really knew how to put into words, and this book does that. It's gorgeous. 5 out of 5 stars. A very easy read. You'll go through this so fast. These are the 2020 reissue editions. They're not that expensive. And this is the back. There's like butterflies. It's absolutely a stunner. I could stare at this book for long periods of time. I live in an apartment complex, so well then. Okay, so the next book I read, I didn't read it because I listened to it as an audiobook, and that is My Sister, the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. And I'll put a picture right here for your enjoyment. Okay, I gave this 3 stars. It had a lot of potential. It was a really cool idea. It started off strong for me. I read it for the local book club. There was like a lot of like opinionated thoughts. Like everybody, for the most part, there were people that loved it, but for the most part, everybody had like different reasons and people would disagree on their reasons, but on average, it seemed to be a 3-star. I was really intrigued in the very beginning and then it just fell so flat. I got so bored. I feel like nothing was happening. Yeah, it's only 4 hours long though. It's super short. One thing I will say is that I learned that the author is actually a poet, and this was her first time to write an actual like story, like a regular book. You could really tell her chapters are like a page long, like hit at something, and then I felt like it wouldn't continue. I would love to read her poetry though, because she thinks of things that are really outside the box, but it's like very, her style of writing is just very short. And that you can tell she's not used to like pages and pages. Like she wants to get the feeling on the paper, and then she wants to go on to the next chapter. But it had a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see what else the writer writes, because it was her first time to write something outside of poetry, and I feel like I want to see the writer evolve. But that story itself, while the idea was really, really cool, just didn't do it. It was a 3-star. It wasn't horrible by any means, and there's a lot of potential there, but she's got some time to grow. The next book that I finished was another February, kind of like was a runoff, and that was The Beautiful and Damned. Oh my god. Okay, we're back. We had some technical difficulties. My stand just like all right, I think I was talking about my troubled relationship with F. Scott Fitzgerald while reading The Beautiful and Damned. F. Scott Fitzgerald lived in the 1920s. He wrote about the 1920s. So he gets the aesthetic and the glamour and like the fun of the 1920s. But he also gets really sexist views, and he was an aristocrat, so he's very privileged and opinionated. Yeah. But he also is just like, he's trying to like figure out life. So something that F. Scott Fitzgerald really did, especially in his earlier works, was they're fiction, but he puts so much of himself into these books. So F. Scott Fitzgerald married a celebrity. They got married really, really young. He married, I believe she was a dancer, Zelda Saray, and she was really beautiful, and she was famous in her own right. They were both famous people. They had a very dysfunctional marriage. The Beautiful and Damned is really about him and Zelda's marriage. So F. Scott Fitzgerald's marriage to Zelda. He's writing about how two young people in their early 20s get to experience adult things like falling in love and getting married, or inheriting money, or trying to make business ideas. But while they're getting to do these adult things, they're actually very, very immature. How they can be pretty selfish and just want to have a good time and not really think things through. They can be the worst parts of themselves. One thing that I really loved in this book, he goes into writing about the ambiance. And so literally here, he's talking about taking a bath. It made me want to take a bath. So, for example, the bathtub, equipped with an ingenious book holder, was low and large. Behind it, a wall wardrobe bulge with sufficient linen for 3 men and with a generation of neckties. There was no skimpy, glorified towel of a carpet. Instead, a rich rug, like the one in his bedroom, a miracle of softness that seemed almost to massage the wet foot emerging from the tub. You're just like, oh my God, I want to take a bath in this bathroom. Like, holy, it sounds so beautiful. Like, I'm so jealous of this bathroom. He got those small things, those small enjoyments in life. And I don't know, he just draws you in. Even though there's so many issues with this book, he draws you in. He makes you realize that you have flaws that you hide from everybody else. You have moments that you're slothful, or you're prideful, or you're greedy, and you won't admit it to anybody else because you're always like projecting out the better sides of you. But this book, we're gonna just crack that egg open, see two people embellish and not know how to be better, and they're spoiled making bad decisions and hurting the people they love. It's a really sad book. It's very sad. It is a classic. I can understand why a lot of people wouldn't like this book. It's definitely an older style, but for somebody that's not afraid to jump into a classic and would like to have a really beautiful atmospheric read, this is it for that. Okay, so this next book I read, I'm gonna try not to talk about it because I talked about it a lot in my reading vlog, but that is Never Anyone But You by Rupert Thomson. It's an LBGT read. It's a historical fiction. It's like based off of real people, but it's because history doesn't talk about these women enough. The writer, Rupert Thomson, takes liberties to bring their story to life. He's trying to like really show you that these people are worth remembering. And I gave it 5 stars. Once again, this is a slow burn. I adored this book, but there were times where I was like, okay, come on at the same time. But overall, as a full piece, this book just blew my socks off. I will say that I love a moody read is what I'm gonna call it. I love all the moody books. Give them to me. Okay. Oh, trigger warnings. Suicide, torture, war, death, hardcore, be aware. But so worth it. But just like go in prepared. Alrighty, so the next book I read was Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. And it's very shimmery. Liked, once again, the idea of this book a lot. When I read this is if you've watched Repo, the Genetic Opera, it's got those vibes, which is like a dystopian, but there's like wealthy people within the dystopian. But this one, it's like there's royal families within this dystopia. How I pictured these people was they're wearing these crowns and they have royal colors on, but add studs and like combat boots and just like being able to move about a broken down industrialized world. And I thought that was pretty cool. It definitely is a YA though. It's really fast. I feel like there was more trope than fleshed out characters. I didn't find the story very believable. I was just like, oh, whatever, like, okay. Like I gave it a lot of liberties. I gave it 3 stars. I definitely didn't love it, and I didn't hate it. It's fine. I find this is like an entertaining read. It's just another like entertaining book. It's whatever. The world building, like the attitude of the world and like this look of how people dress and stylize themselves, that's really cool, and I really liked that. It's definitely a caste system. There's people with powers that have silver blood, and then there's people with red blood that don't have powers, and they're separated by class, and it's really about breaking out of this horrible system. And then I DNF'd a book, which I usually only DNF like 1 or 2 books a year. So it's March and this is the first DNF of the year. And that's In Cuba, I Was a German Shepherd. I was really wanting to learn about what's happened to Cuban people. And the first story, if it was just that one story, I would have given this book 5 stars. However, this book was published in 2001, and out of the short stories, the way that women are depicted is not okay. And the way that mental illness is depicted is not okay. And I just think it's really outdated, and I wasn't okay with it by any means. And after reading 3 stories of women being categorized as like annoying, just plain out crazy, I put it down. I was like, I'm done. I think there was like 2 more short stories, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I DNF'd it. This book is written by Menendez. And I was really surprised that it was written by a woman. I don't know what to think about this. I found like learning about Cuba very interesting, you know, humbling, but then as a woman, seeing and reading how women with mental illness are depicted was just very unsettling. I'm not I'm not down for this. The next book I read was Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. Another hot track of a book. I loved this book. It was a 5-star. The author really did a good job at being a storyteller and showing what Native women face. This book goes into some really painful places, and it's because I didn't know about the triggers in this book. So something you need to know about this book is that there's heavy triggers for drug abuse, death, sexual assault. The main character in this book is Donis. She's a part of a Native tribe, and her dealing with really painful experiences and side effects of really key issues that the Native community faces. But I also found it going into some really healing places where it actually helped me. I'd never thought of things in the way this book made me think, and that's like why I love to read, is because books bring new perspectives or new thought processes. This book is an adventure. It's a mystery, by the way. A lot of people think it's a fantasy because of the cover, but a lot of the things that I thought this book was going to be about already were long gone. Like, they're done. That plot twist has been hit within 100 pages. So then you're like, okay, well, I have no idea where this book is going to go. I always felt like my interests were piqued and that there was something to like keep me on my toes. And I also really loved the description of nature, how the main character like viewed the world around her. I don't know if this is a YA or a new adult. It's not like a dense read by any means, but it also doesn't read too young. Like, I feel like it's almost young, but it's not. People either love this book or they don't. But I did. And I think there's a big crowd of people that do love this book. So 5 stars. The last book I finished in March was One Foot in the Grave by Jeaniene Frost. It's a smut book. Oh, there are some there's some moments in this book. To be honest, it was so bad, it was funny. And I was like laughing listening to it. And so I was like, okay, I actually want to continue this series because it makes it like, it's so funny to me that I'm enjoying it. And like, I went in with really low expectations though, please know that. I was not expecting a 5-star read. But that I was like, oh my God, these characters are so much more fleshed out and the storyline is actually like a lot more developed. And I ended up giving it 4 stars. And there's some really hot scenes in there. Like, this book is a smut book, like definitely some smutty scenes. One of the scenes at the very end made me blush. I straight up blushed. I was like, oh my God. But I'm gonna continue listening to the series. It was a good time. I like it. The storyline is a girl that's half vampire, half human. She's kind of like a bounty hunter. She's constantly trying to go after bad vampires and being kind of powerful, but also not being fully vampire. But yeah, no, it's just like a bounty hunter story in a lot of ways. It's that trope with like a love interest. Which I find that I really like that trope. I like the bounty hunter trope, so it's a fun time. I really liked it. So overall for the month, I had 3 5 stars, 2 4 stars, 2 3 stars, and 1 2 star, and that's a total of 8 books. A lot of times I'll get to about 10 books. This coming month, April, I'm gonna get to even less, I think, possibly, but these are the books that I read, plus the 2 audiobooks, which would be up here. And that's all I got for you. I'll probably be posting another vlog at the end of April when the deadline for taxes ends. Yeah, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you have any ideas for anything you would like to see from me, like things that would interest you, any ideas you have. But besides that, bye friends, Bex Books signing off.